Hello, I am here with Emily today, and we are going to be talking about her life since surgery. Emily, can you just introduce yourself and tell us when you had your ETS surgery?
Yes, my name is Emily. Here, I'm gonna exit out of this real quick. My name is Emily, and I had my surgery in November of 2022. So we're going on 3 years post-op come November.
Amazing. And what led you to the Center for Hyperhidrosis? How did you first find Dr. Basseri?
Yeah, so I was about 23, 24 at the time when I heard about the Center for Hyperhidrosis. I had come to a point in my life where I had accepted that this was going to be something I had to live with for the rest of my life. And so I had disclosed to a close client of mine at the time that I had hyperhidrosis. And so she understood. She completely accepted me for who I was. And she even took the time to research hyperhidrosis after we met. And she emailed me the Center for Hyperhidrosis. And so the next day I open my email and I see this email for the Center for Hyperhidrosis. And I'm like, wow, like I didn't realize this existed. And so I looked into it. I had my free consultation with Dr. Basseri. I asked all my questions. I connected with you, Bree, for a little bit too before my surgery. And I would say I was very gung ho for getting the surgery because I didn't even realize that this was an option. So I did everything that I could to make sure I could get the surgery for my hands and for my armpits. And so we are now coming on 3 years post op. I still no longer sweat out of my armpits and hands, which is a miracle. I cherish every day and I do not take this being able to be with dry hands lightly. I realize that that's a privilege that a lot of people do not have that do suffer with hyperhidrosis on a daily basis. And I am so appreciative of the center. I'm so appreciative of my relationship with the center. And I'm so appreciative of opportunities like this to be able to share my story with others and just let others know that they're not alone in their hyperhidrosis journey.
Absolutely. It means it means so much to me, and it means so much to if somebody is watching this right now, that means they care enough about their condition and finding a cure for it. And they're sitting through this video because they want to hear how the experience was and life after surgery. Let's say that the person watching this right now is maybe where you were prior to surgery. They didn't even know about it. Maybe this is the first video they stumbled upon and they're hesitant to have a call with Dr. Basseri. What would you say to them if they're just not sure if they should even have the call because they don't know what the price is going to be and they don't know if they're going to be able to get to California and all of the other factors? What would your advice be?
My advice would just be to gain as much knowledge and information as you can. I'd say knowledge is power in this area. And so, learning about what Dr. Basiri and the Center for Hyperhidrosis can offer you, as well as what maybe your insurance could or could not be approved for, is something that I would encourage. It is kind of a lengthy process, at least it was for myself, to get my insurance processed for my ETS surgery. So, I'd recommend getting the initial call with Dr. Basiri done, talking with maybe other patients who have had the surgery, and just gaining that knowledge about what is the best option for you or your
Absolutely.
loved ones.
Absolutely. And what was your experience like with insurance? So you had your call with Dr. Basseri. Did you submit insurance right away after that? How did that look for you?
Yes, so I'd say my personally, for me, it took like 3 to 4 months for my insurance to process. We kinda got hung up a little bit on trying to get the approval letter from my insurance, to go ahead for the surgery. But I'd say overall, like my experience from beginning to end with the center was very positive. They helped me with everything that I needed help with from beginning to end with my ETS surgery. And I was very thankful that I had that support from the center to be able to proceed with my surgery. So I'd say insurance was kind of a big hassle and just the waiting game. Otherwise, I'd say like gain more information during this time, learn what a trip to California could look like for you and maybe a loved one who could support you during that time, and just like gain knowledge.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And I think that that is like really the message of having that consultation with Dr. Basseri. You can have that call and decide, you know what, surgery is not for me right now. Maybe in the future, you can have that call and decide I'm going out there as soon as I can, which is what I did. As soon as I had that call, I
Exactly.
was like, I have to be out there tomorrow. And you're exactly right. The insurance process can take a little while, but our office is so incredible. I'm sure you had a similar experience. When I submitted my insurance, we were kind of hands off. Like if they needed me to do something, they reached out, but they were the ones doing all of the work with insurance. And then when I got the call saying insurance covers this much for you, this is the remaining amount. I had a little bit remaining, and they said, you know, you can go through Care Credit. These are your different options. And from there, it was like, when can you get out to California? Did you have a similar experience after insurance? Was it like, when can you be here?
Exactly. That was exactly what happened. Like, when can I be there? When can you have the surgery? What does that look like for you? What does a trip to California look like for you? Because I'm not from California myself. So, what does that look like for you and someone to help you look like? So, I just jumped right in once my insurance got approved. I made sure that I had enough to cover my remaining balance following insurance. And so after that, I booked my trip to California. My nephew Isaac came along with me, and he was a great support from beginning to end. He flew out from where he's from, and I flew out from where I was from. I had my pre op day with Dr. Basseri, and I got to look at the Center for Hyperhidrosis and see what it's going to look like for me the next day. And it was a lot of like question and answer, but mostly answers because I didn't really have a lot of questions at the end of it because they answered most everything I had. And then I had my surgery on November 2nd of 2022. It was a wonderful day. My surgery took about 45 minutes, give or take. And when I woke up from surgery, I no longer had sweaty hands, which was a huge blessing. Bree was there, my nephew Isaac was there, Dr. Basiri was there. I had a great nurse and great staff that was there to support me through my journey. And I absolutely loved that day. It is a day that is forever ingrained in my heart. I remember wanting to cry so badly, but I could not physically cry. But I was so overjoyed with this newfound dry hands. So it was just an incredible experience. I really wanted to put lotion on with dry hands for the first time. That was what I was looking forward to following surgery. But what I did not know following surgery was what it was going to bring out of me post surgery. I'd say my favorite thing for me following my surgery and what dry hands has done for me is my confidence. I'm a new person, honestly, than who I was 3 years ago, like, before I even went in and had my surgery, and I'm so confident. I love who I am now. I'm so proud of the progress that I've made since my surgery date and the new self-love that I've kind of discovered for myself. So, if anyone is considering getting the surgery at this point in time, I just say follow your heart and do what's right for you in the end. And if this surgery is something that you want to consider, I'm always an open ear, open arms, and I'm always here for you. So,
Absolutely. That is great advice. And
mhm.
I'm so happy for you. I know it was such a honor to be able to experience your surgery day because I had obviously already had my surgery by that point. So getting to kind of relive that day through you and document it. And for anybody watching, Emily was one of our patient spotlights. So if you scroll back through our Instagram and our TikTok page, you can see her trying lotion for the first time after surgery and FaceTiming your friend on the phone was one of my favorite moments because
Yes!
I'm so happy
I
for you.
vaguely remember that. Like, it's like a deep memory in there. But yes, I do remember FaceTiming my friends too, and my
Yes,
mom and all the
yes.
people. Yes, I
Because
remember that.
it is so life-changing. And for me, and I think for you as well, it once you get back into your normal life, that's when like the confidence and everything starts to kind of pour in because it's so almost overwhelming exciting at first. You're like, oh my gosh, this actually worked. This is my new life now. But then once you're back to work and just in your normal life, but now without having to deal with hyperhidrosis, that is when it really set in for me and for a lot of our patients. And it's like just over time is when it becomes more normal. And then you're like, next thing you know, it's 3 years later, and you look back and you're like, wow, I've grown so much since surgery.
Yeah, something that really stuck out to me was the phantom sweats that you'll have post-surgery. It'll feel like you need to sweat, want to sweat, have to sweat, but you can't and you're not going to. Like it is a weird sensation, feeling, whatever it is, but you'll experience it if you do get the surgery. And it is just kind of like a surreal experience when you think about it. Like, I'm supposed to be sweating right now and it's not happening. So it's something that I found to be really odd, and I still kind of experience it from time to time now, I'd say. But it's very rare that it does happen.
Mhm. Yeah,
At
and it is a crazy experience because for me, I only remember a couple of times like remembering having that feeling. And it would be if somebody went to go shake my hand, and then I would have that heart drop feeling, oh my gosh, my hand's sweating. And I would literally feel like my hand is going to start sweating. Like it was mental. It was like your hand's
yes.
going to sweat. And then I would have to look down and be like, no, I had surgery. They're fine. I can shake this person's hand. And then it's time, just time. And then it becomes like, oh, I'm reaching for the handshake. I'm not thinking about it anymore. And it just becomes your normal to have dry hands. But the phantom sweating, I thought it was surreal is a good word. It is kind of like funny almost. You're like, wow,
Mhm.
you used to sweat and now you're not. And it's just kind of,
Exactly.
it makes you realize, wow, this surgery really did work. And I
Mhm.
don't have to be nervous anymore. And I can just go into every single moment full throttle and be passionate and confident.
Yes. And with that, in the future, I myself would really like to get my ELS surgery. That is
Mhm.
something in the future that I'd love to do for my feet. I unfortunately was not part of the lucky percentage that got cured with my ETS surgery when I had surgery for my sweaty hands and my armpits. I did go about a month or maybe a little bit longer without having sweaty hands post following the surgery,
So sweet.
which was really cool. Don't get me wrong, but my sweating did come back very slowly in my feet. And now my hyperhidrosis in my feet is the same that it was pre-surgery, I would say.
Mhm.
I still very excessively sweat under my feet uncontrollably. I have no power over it. I wear socks and shoes majority of the time, unfortunately, and it sucks. I I've always ranted on about how I never want anyone in this with this diagnosis to feel alone.
Mhm.
It's a very lonely diagnosis, and I grew up thinking me and my brother were the only people who had it, you know? My brother suffers from it. Unfortunately, he will probably never get the surgery himself due to his own reasons. But I got the surgery, and so I feel like very blessed to be able to kind of experience this for the both of us in a way. Like I got to experience hyperhidrosis and now I get to experience dry hands. And so what a blessing to be able to do the things I want to do and be able to share that with my brother as well, you know. So,
Absolutely. And yeah, just to kind of clarify what Emily said, for anyone watching, if you are considering getting ETS surgery, that surgery is for the hands. And if you have bad underarms, your underarms can also improve with that surgery. And then there's a small chance, about a 10% chance, that the feet can improve. And some people are a part of that lucky percentage, and some people are not. And the great thing about that is if you do experience sweaty feet again after surgery, you can go back and get the ELS surgery for the feet. So,
mhm.
two separate surgeries, but there's a chance of the feet improving with the hands. There's not a chance of the hands improving with the feet. And this is all stuff that Dr. Basseri goes over on the consultation call. So that's why Emily and I are like, have that call because it's just a wealth of knowledge when you talk to
Yes. Dr. Basiri knows best. He
him.
is the hyperhidrosis king. He knows everything when it comes down to this disease, I want to call it, almost, because it can be so debilitating at times. And so I just never want anyone to feel alone with this. I am very passionate about hyperhidrosis and the community that it's brought to me. And so if anyone is needing additional help resources, just a listening ear. I'm always here.
Absolutely. And do you have any specific moments in relationships, family, dating, friendships that you have experienced since surgery that you would not have before?
Oh, I'm way more physical touch person kind of sort of now. If you could have never caught me 5 years being a physical touch human being. I just love being able to hold hands whenever I want to. I love being able to write freely.
Mhm.
I love being able to use my electronic devices without sweat getting all over things. I love to be able to hold a baby and pet an animal and not have hair clinging to your hands. Again, it's like very uncomfortable. It's not talked about, but it's the reality of which we live in. Like with my current hyperhidrosis in my feet, I have to wear socks on a near 24-hour kind of basis because I don't want things sticking to my feet. I always wear socks unless I'm sleeping or I'm taking a shower. That's usually when you'll not catch me wearing socks. Like, but again, there is hope because I want to get the ELS surgery so bad one day and I'm going to get it. I'm determined.
And after surgery for your hands, and did you also have your underarms done?
Yes, I had both.
Okay. And so just talk a little bit about um, how the sweating has changed in the hands and the underarms. Are your underarms completely dry now? Are they still sweating a little bit, like a normal, healthy amount? And same for your hands.
I'd argue that, yeah, both are within normal amounts, if not never. I
Mhm.
maybe get clammy, and that's like lightly clammy in my hands from time to time when I'm just like noticing them getting more clammier or I'm hanging on to things or whatnot, what have you. My underarms sweat a little bit from time to time, but I do wear deodorant too still to this day. So give or take.
Mhm.
I feel like what I do sweat out of my hands and my armpits is what a normal, average human without hyperhidrosis would experience. So I'm very fortunate that I get to live a life with dry armpits and dry hands, and just being able to experience life in a new way. So it's
Wear
fun.
what you want, not have to worry about what clothes you're gonna pick out for the
Yeah.
day based off of your hands and your underarms. Because I would pick out clothes, of course, for my underarm sweating, but also things that I could wipe my hands on and it would absorb it because
Oh
materials
yeah.
would make my hands sweat worse. Like the thought of wearing like wool or something like that, oh,
Oh,
make me just drip sweat.
yeah. Yes, I would
Now
agree.
after I wear whatever.
I can wear whatever now. I'm free to do whatever I want. I remember once I was in middle school and I had sweat through my t-shirt and my armpits and I was made fun of so badly and I had no idea they were making fun of me at the time and I had no control over it.
Mhm.
And so that kind of scarred me. So that from that point forward, I just wore baggy clothing. I wore dark clothing. You couldn't catch me in a tank top to save my life. Like I just would not want the dripping, the sweating to happen anymore. And so now, post surgery, I do not sweat out of my armpits. I do not sweat out of my hands. And I just have compensatory sweating mid stomach, lower back, sometimes behind my knees, just depending on how overreactive I am or overheating or exerting myself. Just depends. But it's very rare and minimal to what I
Mhm.
experience. So,
Absolutely. That was the next thing I was going to ask about compensatory sweating. So you say just in normal situations, do
yeah.
you, when you sweat, like let's say you're outside in the heat, and how long does it take, you think, for your back to start sweating?
Mm.
How bad does it get? Is it like affecting, do you have to change clothes or is it just a normal amount of sweat?
I would say it's a normal amount of sweat and it's very minimal to what I personally do experience. I don't feel like it's anything that I have to change out of or disrupt my day for or go out of my way for in any sort of way. I'd say for the majority, I just really enjoy wearing what I want to wear nowadays because that's my life because I got ETS surgery with Dr. Basseri.
I feel the same way about mine. I always explain it as it is a factor after surgery, but it's not controlling my life. I don't think about it. The first summer after I had my surgery, I was always asking my friends and family if they were sweating because I was
Yeah, me too.
aware of my back sweating.
Yeah.
My hands were dry. And so I would be like, "Is your back sweating right now?" And every time they were like, "Yes." And by the end of summer, it was a joke. They would always just, my mom especially, would be like, "My back's sweating right now. It's hot outside." And even sometimes to this day, she'll be like, "My back's sweating. It's hot out." And I'm like, "Okay, I get it. It's normal." But one thing I talk about with patients all the time, and I would love for you to chime in, I I've noticed a lot of our other patients too, we don't really know what normal sweating is. To us,
No.
it's just like hyperhidrosis or you're not sweating. Like
Exactly.
hyperhidrosis, but people without hyperhidrosis sweat. And I knew that. I just didn't know it was, they're not thinking about it. They're thinking it's hot outside, I'm sweating. They're not thinking I'm sweating right now. Oh my gosh, it's just normal to be sweating for them because they know, and whatever the situation is, it's not odd to sweat. And
Uh-huh.
versus us, it was. And so I think that makes us overthink every time we sweat. And
Mhm.
it's sort of a mindset shift that you have to make after surgery, being like, yeah, my back is sweating right now, but it's not just because I'm sitting here. Like sitting here right now, I'm not sweating at all from anywhere. If I'm outside in the heat, my back's gonna sweat, but I don't have to think about it as compensatory sweating. I can think about it as it's hot outside and everybody's sweating.
Exactly. It might your mindset really changes after surgery. And I think it's for a positive change because you're constantly thinking about having sweaty hands. Always. There's never an awkward moment that you're not thinking about your sweaty hands. And so it just impacts so many things in your daily life that when you no longer have sweaty hands, it changes things. You know, you're no longer thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm sweating while I'm typing. Oh my gosh, I'm sweating while I'm taking a drink of this beverage. I'm sweating while I'm holding this child. Like, you don't have to think about that on a constant daily basis. And eventually it does change the way you think over time. And eventually you come to a new normal where you don't have to think about it as in, oh my gosh, I'm sweating out of my hands or I'm not sweating out of my hands. It's weird. Like, you will think about it as, wow, I'm not sweating out of my hands in this experience for a long time. And I appreciate that. And I am grateful for those moments every single time. And at the same time, your mindset just kind of changes with time. And it becomes more clear that this is a life that you're supposed to live without sweaty hands. And it's a blessing. So just be appreciative of those blessings and appreciate. And if you are one who doesn't suffer from hyperhidrosis, and maybe you know someone who suffers from hyperhidrosis, just be a support and share awareness, and let them know that they're not alone. You know, because it can be very lonely.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
your specific career, if you wouldn't mind just kind of talking about what you do for work and how hyperhidrosis impacted that and how life after surgery has changed it.
Yeah, so I am a social worker. I went to school for social work pre surgery. And so I've always been a social worker, but how I've kind of navigated my careers has changed. I've just kind of been a social worker in different environments, but I can proudly say that ever since my surgery, I've become a definitely a more empowered social worker. I'm a more I'm better at my job because I'm not focused on my hands. I can better serve the people in my life, personal and professional, because of my surgery. And I didn't think that that would be something that would happen, but it did, and it's a great feeling. So I'm appreciative.
Absolutely, that's so incredible. If somebody is watching this right now that is where you used to be, what would you want the main takeaway from hearing this and hearing you speak to be?
Just I just really, really, really want to ensure people with hyperhidrosis know that you're not alone. It can be a scary world to navigate. And it can be very isolating, especially if you don't know anyone with hyperhidrosis, kind of like I was without my brother. And I've learned since sharing my story that other people do have hyperhidrosis, and it's a common more common than we know, really. And just to be more appreciative of your blessings if you do have dry hands. And if you don't have dry hands, just know that there is support out there. There is the Center for Hyperhidrosis if you are interested and want to give it a call. And there's people like Bree and I who are always open to communicating with you and letting you know that you're not alone.
Absolutely. And for people without hyperhidrosis, what is one thing that you would like them to know and understand
Ooh.
about the condition?
Ooh, just to know that it's literally completely 100% out of their control. If they have a hyperhidrosis diagnosis, they can't control how they sweat, where they sweat, what they sweat, how they sweat, why, all of those good things. They can't control any of it. So just accepting them for who they are and not being freaked out or judgmental about it is goes a really long ways, a really long ways. I can distinctly remember the few people in my life who never judged me for my sweaty hands. Very, very, very few. I was judged so many times for my hyperhidrosis. I couldn't even tell your account or share how many times I was judged or bullied or whatever. So just knowing and accepting them where they're at, being more aware of your privilege of dry hands and just being a good friend or person to them.
Absolutely. And I can promise you that the person with hyperhidrosis is thinking about the fact that they have hyperhidrosis way more than your one thought of, oh my gosh, ew, their hands are wet. They were thinking about that handshake the day before they even had to shake your hand. So things like that, it's, with any condition, the person with it is the one that's thinking about it constantly. So your words of kindness or lack thereof, like just not saying anything, can be the biggest blessing in that person's day because they're already expecting a hand pull back or like you to wipe your hands. And, you know, we understand it's like an uncomfortable thing. We're the one living with it. So even if you are going to wipe your hands, which we get, just don't make it obvious. Maybe like
Exactly.
do it, secretively. Don't make a big deal about it. And that would make that person's day. Um,
Honestly,
absolutely. And any final advice that you would give to somebody preparing for surgery?
if you're preparing for surgery, I just recommend that you gain the knowledge that you need to best make your decisions for yourself and or your loved ones. Know that there are resources available to help you along your way and just take the time to appreciate and document everything. I do personally regret not taking more pictures of my hands pre-surgery. I wish I would have took more pictures of my sweaty hands. I do have a few and I do cherish them a lot actually because I will never sweat out of my hands again and I don't have any evidence of that I once did. So take the pictures.
Absolutely. And then to wrap up, what has been your proudest or your happiest moment in your past 3 years since surgery?
Ooh, I don't know if I can nail down just one. Honestly, because in the 3 years since I've had surgery, so much has happened in my life, you know? I've gained a new friendships, new relationships, new jobs. I've remodeled a home. I've just experienced so many different life experiences that I'm just so grateful for every moment that's come post surgery that I get to experience with dry hands and not have to think twice about wow, this interaction is giving me sweaty hands, you know? Like, it's something that I never thought I could experience in my life, and so I'm very grateful. So,
Absolutely. Well, it definitely seems like your confidence overall has just blossomed since having surgery, and I'm so happy for you and so
thank you.
appreciative for you just sharing your story. I know we chat and we've stayed connected since surgery, but just being able to share your words and your experience and help people feel confident and the fact that they're not alone and confident if they want to go through with having surgery and feel, like they can have this consultation call and it's really not intimidating and we're all here to help you. So your story helps just prove that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always here, and I just want to be a helpful hand. So if you ever need anything, let us know.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Thank you.